Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on.
Good day, everyone. My name is,
My name is
uh,
uh,
sorry, my voice is echoing somewhere. Okay,
I muted Jimmy.
thank you. So my name is Abby, and I am one of the mentors for the Reskill Americans program. Specifically, I am one of the mobile mentors. So you all are free to reach out to me if you have any questions relating to mobile development. Um, so it's a pleasure to have you all here. Basically, the goal of the call is for us to give you all a brief overview of what each track is about. So mentors are going to take turns in giving brief overview of their various tracks and also talk about potential career opportunities for each of these tracks. So let's get right onto it. We're going to start with the UIUX track. So we're going to give the floor to Charles. Charles, you have our attention.
Thank you so much, Abigail. Hi guys. So today I will be talking to you about UI UX. If I could just share my screen. Mike, can I get permission to share my screen, please?
Yep, sorry about that. How about now? Can you do that?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, so guys, today I'll be talking to you about UI UX. First of all, my name is Charles. I'm a UI UX designer. I'll be taking you through a basic idea of UI UX design, what's involved, what's not involved, career paths you might want to get into, and generally everything, most things that you might like to know. So first off, I'm going to talk about how I started into the field of UI UX design. I first of all was a front-end developer, and then I moved on to become a UI developer, and here I am as a UI UX designer. Front-end developer, basically, I had to recreate screens that had been designed by a UI UX designer. That was basically my job at that time, similar to what I did as a UI developer as well. And as a UI UX designer now, I just follow through the stage of creating products that people can use. So let's get right into it. Uh, our outline today, I'll be talking about, I'll be introducing you, like I said earlier, we'll be talking about what user experience is, the user experience design process, what user interface is, and various fields in UI UX design. And I'll also touch on how you can get started, because a big issue is when students finish learning, they've gone through a course, and they do not know what to do next or where to start. So I'll be touching a bit on that. So first of all, what is UI UX design? So you've probably used an app, you've gone to a website, and you've looked at how things are on there, and you thought to yourself, oh, I really like this. I wonder how it came about. Basically, UI UX design is responsible for that. Yeah, there are other fields that come in, but the starting point for every great product that you see begins with a user interface designer or a user experience designer. So in simple terms, UI UX design refers to the process of creating meaningful experiences for people mostly through digital interfaces like mobile apps and websites. I say mostly because UI UX design doesn't just concentrate or doesn't just isn't only about digital products. So when you drink water from a cup, that's a user experience. When you use your laptop, when you're looking for a laptop to buy, that's user experience. When you're looking for a bed to buy to sleep on, that's user experience. So it basically focuses on solving users' problems and improving their overall experience. Now, when it comes to UI UX design, a lot of people think that they have to go hand in hand at all times. Yes, most times they do, but they can also work separately. So you have the user interface side and you have the user experience side. And yes, people actually work in this field separately, not as a UI UX designer, but a user interface designer and a user experience designer. Okay, so we'll talk about what user experience is right now, and later on we'll touch on what user interface is. So user experience is a quality of experience a person has when interacting with a specific design. This is talking about the user. Now, when you as a person, you want to download an app or you've downloaded an app and you're trying to use this app, how do you feel when you're using this app? From the process of downloading, what size is this app? Because there's so much competition out there now. People are looking for the lowest size of an app that they can get that will still do the same thing for them. So right from the moment of downloading the app, what size is it? How do I start using it? Do I need to go somewhere else to sign up? Would I get an email of some sort to help me through the process? So generally that is what user experience tries to tackle. Okay, so let's look at this picture. Um, I know some of us might be conversant with this picture. It was everywhere last year, and I think last 2 years as well. So on one side, you have the hens ketchup, the bottle design, and then on the other hand, you have the hens ketchup as well, but this time in plastic and turned upside down. I don't know about any other person, but I've used the Heinz tomato ketchup in the bottle form before, and a big problem was how to get that ketchup out of the bottle and the right amount at the same time. So in times where I've tried using it, I'll just keep on heating the bottle from at the bottom in hopes of getting the right amount that I want. And sometimes I don't even get this right amount. So I just work with whatever I want to, whatever comes out of the bottle, because I'm just tired, I'm just frustrated, and I can't keep on heating the bottom. So I hence looked at this and decided to redesign. The of course followed through the UX design processes, but at the end of the day, they came up with a plastic version of this bottle. And from the picture, you can see the little guy there. He's having a tough time using the bottle design, and he's smiling while using the plastic design. So this is what UX hopes to solve through the processes that are involved in it. Basically make users happy at the end of the day, and hopefully also make users spread the word about that product that they use. So user experience, everything, whatever you're doing, whether you're in media, whether you're creating content, whether you're designing buildings, user experience is always involved, because at the heart of whatever you're creating, you have users. You're creating for users. If the user at the end of the day does not use that product that you're creating, then that's bad. That's bad for business. That's bad for the world. Yes. So let's get right into what user experience process entails. Okay. So for the user experience process, you have you have 6 steps. Sometimes it's 5. Sometimes it stops at the testing stage, and some others go into implementation stage. But at the first stage, you have empathize. This is where you try to understand the user and the business goals. We'll still talk about a bit, we'll still talk a bit about each of them. On the second stage, you have define, and then from up there, you move on to ideation. And from there, you go on to prototyping, and then testing, and finally implementation. So let's get right into the empathy, the first stage, which is the empathy stage. So in the empathy stage, we set aside our biases and assumptions in order to understand the user's needs better. We ask questions like, who are our users and what do they need? What purpose does the product serve for those users? What are the business goals in creating this product? What currently exists to serve the same purpose? So if you're going to go into the field of user experience design, you're going to want to put the users at the heart of whatever you're creating. Um, a common problem that user experience designers face is that when they want to start a project, they come in with preconceived notions and biases about what the user might like or how the user might react. So the empathy stage says that all those should be dropped. You're coming in like a blank canvas. You don't know anything. You're like a fresh student. You're about to learn about your users and what they could like and what they could not like. You ask questions, you ask who, what questions in this stage, just to get a bit of, just to understand the users better, just to understand your users better, and the business goals as well. We'll move on to the let's move on to the define stage. Pardon me if I might rush this. We do not have a lot of time, so I might rush this through. But rest assured, later we will still go through them. So the define stage is where we take data from the empathy stage and try to make sense of it. We put our users in boxes and try to understand what their pains are and how to solve the pain. We do things like empathy mapping here. We identify user pain points and specific problems. We develop user personas, and we ask questions like, how might we? We ask how might we questions, because these questions will help us get a better sense of how to go about design, or what problem we're trying to solve, and see opportunities for problem solving as well. We'll go right into the ideation phase. So basically here, ideas come to play. This is usually done in groups. So hopefully you'll be put in groups and ideas and bounce off ideas of each other through the brainstorming sessions. You also rapidly explore how these ideas can come to life. Is it feasible? Is it not feasible? And also prioritize these ideas on what can be contained in your final design and what can't make it through. So we move from the ideation phase, we move on to prototype. This is basically where a UI designer will come in. So here, prototype is the process of creating a scaled out version of a product to help test an idea before putting in more time, energy, money, and all that. You have things like sketching here, you have design, low fidelity designing and high fidelity designing. As you can see, there's the paper sketch, the low fidelity, and then the high fidelity design. The low fidelity is usually where you might want to test out with users. They're usually static. The high fidelity is a much more beautiful, aesthetically pleasing version of the design. So prototyping tools, what tools might you be using as a designer? There's Figma, there's Sketch, there's Adobe XD, there's Framer, there's InVision, there's Protopie. There's a host of all other, there's Axure, there's a host of all other tools that you can use. But I think for the purpose of this session, we might be using Figma. That doesn't mean you can't use other tools, but yeah, we might be using Figma. So from there, we move on to the testing phase. Basically,
Hi,
testing lets.
Charles.
It's my time up. Oh my God.
Thank you so much for the overview. That was really, really interesting. But we need to go on to another track right now. There is still going to be a day dedicated for design so that he can break down everything that he had planned for today without rushing through. So we'll be moving on to another track now. Let's go on to the front end track. Um,
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
yes, we
Hi,
Yes,
can.
Abby. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy. It's a short form for my middle name, but yeah, I go by Jimmy. I would be taking us on just a brief, intro into what we should expect in the front end track. Let me just share this. Okay. All right. So, can you all see my screen right now?
Yes, I see it.
I hope you can. All right, thank you. Okay, so we're talking about the front end development track. Front end development is also known as client side development, because the client is the person who is using whatever site that you create. So front end development is talking about that aspect that deals with whatever your client is going to see. It's the practice of producing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for your website or web app so that a user can see and interact with it directly. Now, front-end development has to do with everything and every experience that your user would have on the front end. As a front-end developer, you are responsible for the look, the feel, the user experience. After the user experience designer has gone ahead and done all the magic that he wants to do or they want to do in design, it's the job of the front-end developer to bring that design to life, so that the clients can interact with it. And in bringing it to life, it's important to understand that you're not just concerned about just the look alone. The user experience is very important. It doesn't augur well if your web application looks mighty fine, looks really beautiful, but then your user is stuck on a site loading a page for 30 seconds. That user experience is really, really awful. And that's the responsibility of the front-end developer. All right. The tools that and every front-end developer needs to work with, needs to understand: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's like the bedrock of front-end development. One of the most common analogies used for development, front-end development, is building a house. You start off by setting up the structure of the house. You build the house, you set up the structure of what you want to have within the house, you set up your furniture and all that. HTML is pretty much like that. It helps you set up the structure of what your page is going to look like. HTML is short for hypertext markup language. That's what helps you to set up the structure of what your house is going to look like, what goes at the top of the page, what goes at the bottom, what goes to the left, to the right. It just gives all that structure. The next is CSS. CSS has to do with the styling, how beautiful your site looks like, the colors, all of that is what CSS does. CSS is a tool that you use to accomplish that. So HTML, CSS, very important. And then JavaScript. It's described as the programming language of the web. Of course, it does much more than, it is used across other spheres of programming, not just web development. It's used in mobile, it's used in quite a lot of places, but it's called the programming language of the web. It adds functionality to any site. You open up a website, you're able to click up a button, submit a form, do any of those things. JavaScript is what, is being used at the back to accomplish all of that functionality. It helps you to interact with a web page. All of that is made possible by JavaScript. Now, so those are the basic tools that you need. Under JavaScript, you have frameworks that, I've seen a couple of questions about, are we learning React? Are we learning, this and that? I did not bother to specifically identify each of those because they all come up under JavaScript, really. React, Angular, Vue, all of that is under JavaScript. And it's important that you learn the foundation, before you get into the frameworks. If you're not very comfortable with JavaScript itself, before you get into frameworks, you could have issues. Some people will say that, they got into React and, without really learning vanilla JavaScript itself, but it does not always help your experience as a front-end developer. It's always best that you learn the foundation of any tool before you get into other complicated stuff. So basically, those are the things that we're learning. Those are the things that we're working with. And I look forward to seeing you guys in class where we'll expound on all of this and get into the deep stuff. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
So we'll go to the second track now. Enyayomi, Idris.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. Let me share my screen now.
No audio?
Hi, Idris. It seems you're muted.
Yeah, we see your slide, but we don't hear anything.
Idris, would you need time to set up?
Okay. Good. I hope you can all hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Idris. I am a backend mentor for this program. I primarily do software development, full stack. Welcome to the introduction to backend development. So basically, what is backend development? Backend development is basically that thing behind the hood or behind the scene, if you may, that enables you interact effectively with web applications. It basically deals with data storage, manipulation, and handling to make sure that that interaction that you're having on the front end, where you post a blog post, you later want to read it, all of the steps in between is handled via the backend. So as the definition here goes, saying backend development involves the handling, storage, and retrieval and manipulation of data in a web application. This means that everything that has to do with data in your application, data storage, retrieval in your web application is handled by the backend. So as we progress, we'll begin to see what are those elements that actually makes up the backend. So moving on to a quick glossary of terms that are related to software development in general, but more specifically to the backend. We have things like caching. This is a system of copying a given resource and serving it back when it is requested. This will go a bit more important as we move along. Cookies. You've probably visited websites that ask you to accept cookies to be able to, just to make sure that they are able to save the behaviors that is the things that you do on their website. They're able to track those things that you do, the things you like, and are able to serve you related ads or things like that. So these are basically accomplished with things called cookies. DNS stands for domain name service. This is what enables web servers to translate that human readable names in URLs. When you have reskillamerican.com, that is a URL that you can read. The computer does not necessarily know that that URL is pointing to a particular resource. So there is a service behind the scenes that handles translating that URL you can read to something known as an IP address that picks up the resource that you're looking for you. So we also have HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The small s beside it stands for secure. So Hypertext Transfer Protocol basically is what enables you, transfer things over the web. You have databases. Databases are basically systems that are built for storing your data permanently so that you can come back to them later on. Then you have a number of code-related terms here as well. Functions, there are things that are specifically written, pieces of code that you write basically to perform an action. Classes, these are a code, I have it here as a code entity. Basically, it is like an entity within your code that represents a live entity. So for instance, let's say you are writing, you are building an app that deals with a blogging platform. You probably want to have something representing the user that is making that post, something representing the post itself. So those things are usually represented as classes within your app. You have methods. They are basically also functions, but within a class. So bugs. Bugs are pieces of code that breaks your code. They are basically things that causes irregularities within your code. Basically, usually pieces of code as well. Text editor is a software that is built specifically for writing software programs. Then you have architectural related terms, MVC, model view controller architecture, MVM, and that is known as model view model architecture. So these are terms related to how your project itself is set up. So sorry, quick check. Can you all still hear me? I have to be sure before moving on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now, there's need to for me to quickly explain what is known as static and dynamic sites. This is especially important for a backend developer to know, so as to understand the nuance. Static sites basically are sites that do not change, basically, from the word static. They are things that there are sites that when you interact with them, you basically are looking for some pieces of information. I have an instance here where if you visit reskillamerican.com, you basically want to look at what the sites, what the sites can tell you about the organization, those in charge, the contact information, and all of that. But when you go to a platform like twitter.com, you basically want to tweet or do things related to the service, not basically looking for a company. So Twitter, for instance, is a dynamic site, while a site like reskillamerican.org is a static site. So those differences begin to occur when you are working as a backend developer. You will basically be working on dynamic sites, things that require data exchanges between the front end and the back end, basically. So things like this are things you would go in depth more to learn about while the program moves on. So this is a quick infographic using a Twitter post as an example for you to understand what actually happens. So I have a representation here on the left that explains that, okay, a user is trying to create posts on the interface. So the user creates the posts and saves it. So what happens? The front end sends that post information to the backend for processing. The backend receives the post.
Did we lose your audio?
Okay, it seems Idris' connection has is really poor at the moment. So we would move over to the last track, which is the mobile track. Abdul would give a general overview of the track now. Abdul, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, or good morning, everyone. I'm Abdul, a mobile engineer, and I'll be mentoring for the mobile track. So I'd like to share my screen now. So basically, I'll be giving a general overview of what the mobile track will be like. So introduction to what mobile development is in entirety. Mobile development includes coding applications or writing applications for mobile phones or smartwatches, smart vehicles, tablets, and all that. So that's what you'll be able to learn on the mobile track. So basically, when we say mobile, what does that involve? So that involves taking design up from designers and then writing or translating that design into code that mobile devices understand and adding interactions that your users can do. So we can talk about a few mobile applications, say WhatsApp, Zoom on your mobile phones, and several other devices you interact with on like a daily basis. So the tools you'll be using on mobile. So in terms of language used to write these mobile applications, you have the option of using Java or Kotlin, or you can use Flutter. So Java or Kotlin allows you to write what we will call native applications. So native applications are mobile applications that communicate directly or very close to the mobile framework or the mobile hardware of your mobile devices. So Languages like that allow you to use the latest frameworks by say Google, who manages Android, or Apple, who manages iOS. So the latest technologies that they come out, you as a native developer, you get access to them and you can instantly start working with them. For Flutter, you want to be a developer that writes mobile applications that work for both Android and iOS using a single framework. More like sharing a code base, but your application basically will work if you build it for Android, and then the same code base can be built to work on iOS devices. So tools you'll be using for Android development, you can use VS Code, Android Studio, IntelliJ, IDEA, and then you have Xcode. So career opportunities in mobile, you can want to be an Android developer. So those are people that build applications for Android devices. So devices from Google, Samsung, HTC, and the likes. And then you can want to be an iOS developer. So that's someone who builds for Apple phones, Apple watches, macOS, and the likes. And then for cross-platform developers, those are people that build for both. So you build Android apps and you also build iOS apps. So that will be it for the intro for the mobile track.
Thank you very much, Abdul. Thank you to all the tutors for taking out time to explain each of the tracks. At the moment, I am presently going through the YouTube comment section, and I see that a lot of people have questions. So we'll be taking a few questions if we have any on the tracks. Are there any questions that we might have on this?
Yeah, Abby, I saw one go by that people wanted a little bit more detail on career opportunities for front-end developers.
Okay, Jimmy is still on the call, so I'll leave it to her to answer that question. Jimmy.
Okay, so career opportunities for front-end developers. Front-end development, UX development, QA testing, those are possible opportunities. QA testing has to do with quality assurance. You know, you're able to you are not the person involved in the actual building of the site, but you are involved in testing that the user experience is top notch and other parts of the front end, the other parts of the front end of the site work as they should. I think those are three options right now, top of my head, that I can speak of.
I mean, I think there's there are a lot of different companies, I think, making websites, and the web is a very common way that people communicate about the business. They take orders on their sites. So they're small businesses, large corporations all have like a big web presence, and they need developers to implement those experiences for people on those websites. And there's also
exactly.
Yeah, freelancing also. I think another career idea is that you can work from your home and get jobs helping small businesses build their own web presence, and they need developers to implement those sites for those people as well. So some people have a career where they're just working for lots of different clients, and they create websites for those clients. Yeah, and that's I think Jeremiah mentioned that yesterday. He said he suggested build websites for your friends and start to build your portfolio, and it's a good way to kind of get your career started.
Yeah, I was going to mention that static websites, there are front-end developers who do a lot of static websites. That's websites that don't have so much of a back-end presence. You're building a website for probably your local coffee shop or something like that, that doesn't need so much of that, back-end interaction. That's one opportunity. And then there are other developers who go more into building dynamic sites, the likes of your Facebook, your Zoom. Zoom has a web app and stuff like that. So there are different paths that you can take.
Yeah, another question I'm seeing here, and one I've seen in Slack quite a bit, and I've tried to answer it, but it'd be good to get other opinions. That people are asking about what's the fastest way to get a job, or where are the most jobs available? Should I do front end development or back end development? And I don't know. And I think we also had another one about, are there prerequisites for taking the back end course? So just talking about the choice between front end and back end, and where is there one that works better for getting jobs easier, or is it harder to do, or whatever?
Okay, Abdul, would you like to answer that, please?
Yeah, so for front end, back end, opportunities for jobs, I think, spread evenly. If the question included mobile, then I would have said it's easier to get web jobs than it is to get mobile jobs. Yeah, but for web front end, back end, I don't think there's like a disparity between how easy it is to get jobs in either. I think there was a second question. Like, can you read the question again?
Any prior experience needed to take the back end track?
No, so there's no, we're not assuming anything. Complete beginners who have no coding experience at all can take any of the tracks, and it won't be difficult to catch up.
Great. Yeah, like I think I was talking about this earlier in maybe a town hall. But yeah, the back-end development was kind of like the way the web started out. Like all websites were back-end sites. They didn't really have a whole lot of front-end JavaScript. So everything about building a website, started with back-end development. And then now there are frameworks and things like that that run on the server that can implement all the logic and do the interaction through communicating with the back end. So it's kind of the more, it's like the way the web started out. So, and it's definitely a track, if you really want to understand the workings of how the web really works, that back end track is really going to dive deep into that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike. So are there any other questions that we would like to take? Let me see if, let me check the YouTube.
Yeah, there was a question about Dart. I could take, I mean, the Flutter is a framework created by Google for building cross-platform mobile applications, and it does use the Dart programming language. So that will be part of that course, is learning the Dart programming language, which is similar to Java, or in a little bit like JavaScript, and it shares a lot of similarities with that. So, but it's a good language.
Yeah, thank you. I also saw a question about how many tracks that one can take at a time. Advisably, it would be best that each person focuses on one track, so that they would be able to gain maximally from each of the tracks. Okay. I guess that is all I can see for now. As for, someone is asking for career opportunities in backend. So Enyayomi, would you like to take that, please?
Yeah, so regarding career opportunities in backend, so there are, well, depending on which language you're focused on, which backend language you're focused on. We have Python, PHP, and so on and so forth. There are different different career paths you can focus on. So let's say for Python, Python is a good entry point for let's say like is cybersecurity career, maybe um, or maybe a data analyst, or so, even for someone trying to go into like a DevOps kind of career. Python is also a good starting point, like for a backend language. Yeah. So also for languages like PHP, Laravel, yeah, as a basically as a backend engineer to develop web applications. Yeah, also.
All right. Thank you, Anyayomi. Thank you for that. So I guess there are no more questions. Most of the questions I see on in the YouTube chat section have been answered.
There was one about certification. Like, are we giving any certifications in our program? And I know I've answered that question on Slack. We don't yet offer a specific certificate. What we are training for is a set of skills that are the minimum required skills to actually be qualify for an entry-level position in each of the job categories. And but we don't yet have a certificate per se. You will get a certificate of completion from us that says that you completed our course, but it's not like an industry recognized certificate. We will be looking into other ways that you might be able to test into different kind of industry recognized certifications and certificates. Abby, I don't know if you have anything else to say about that.
No, I think that covers it all. That covers it, yeah. Okay. If any word from the mentors? From me, I have nothing else to say, and Mike has covered some of the questions on YouTube as well as the tutors. So I guess if there are more questions, we can just leave them in the mentor help or in the help desk channel, and we would be more than willing to answer your questions.
Great, Abby. Yeah, thank you very much for today. So tomorrow, I was trying to see what is the schedule. We have another video at this time tomorrow as well.
Yes, we do.
It's I think it's
we'll be focusing
on... Go ahead.
Okay, we'll be focusing on backend and design. So today was pretty much about giving a general overview of all of the tracks. Tomorrow we'll go into more details about each of these tracks, specifically the backend track and the design track. So ahead of that call, we can get specific questions about those tracks that we'd love to ask during the call so that the mentors can fully break everything down and won't have any more confusions about about the tracks that will be taken tomorrow. So yeah.
And I think Shay mentioned to me that our students are going to be using a learning management system to do assignments and things like that and turn them in. So I guess I know that assignments are not going to be even given out until this weekend, but some of the training on using that and logging into that, was that going to be coming out tomorrow as well?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Oh, what the learning management system? I think Shay's mentioned to me that he thought tomorrow would be the day that they would also give an overview of how to register for the learning management system so that students can submit assignments.
Okay, would give more, Shay will be the one in the best position to give more information on that.
Okay, all right, that was the original plan, but I'm not sure if that's still the plan, but it'll be coming this week, I think. So, okay, great.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, I guess that wraps it up. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see you here tomorrow. And again, we'll be on Slack to take more questions from people and we'll look on the help desk channel, and specifically if you have questions about the program itself. So thank you, everyone, and I guess we'll sign off now.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you, bye.
everyone. See you on Slack.
All right. Bye.
Bye.